Hello, welcome to my channel StuckFiles. Today we will discuss about why it sucks to be a special teams player. You made it to the NFL. You beat the odds. You outworked hundreds of others to earn a roster spot on one of the most elite teams in the world. But when game day comes around, you're not catching touchdowns. You're not throwing 40-yard bombs. You're not delivering sacks that light up the crowd. You're sprinting full speed down the field, only to get blindsided on live television for a play that lasts 6 seconds and no one will remember. Welcome to the life of a special teams player, the forgotten warriors of football. You're not a starter. You're not a backup. You're somewhere in between. Just fast enough to chase. Just strong enough to hit. Just valuable enough to be used, but never featured. You risk your body on every play. You take full-speed collisions from angles science can't explain. And if you do your job right, nobody notices. But the second you miss a tackle or let a returner slip past, you're trending for all the wrong reasons. You're the first to make contact and the last to get credit. And here's the kicker. Most fans don't even know your name. They just know the punter, maybe the kicker, definitely the returner if he's flashy. But the gunners, the jammers, the blockers, the wedge busters, you're anonymous. Deep was up, invisible unless you screw up. And yet, without you, the field flips. Momentum dies. Games are lost. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why it sucks to be a special teams player. The violence, the thanklessness, the limited snaps, the constant grind to stay relevant in a system that barely acknowledges your existence. You're not just playing football, that you're surviving it. Every game, every rep, every time you hear the phrase, special teams, stay ready. This is for the players who never get the spotlight, but take every hit like they're made of iron. Let's talk about the harshest, most underappreciated position in football, and why it absolutely sucks to be stuck in it. Section 1. No glory, just grind. There are two types of football players on most teams. The ones who make headlines, and the ones who make it all possible, quietly. Special teams players fall into the second category. But don't confuse quiet with easy, because if you play on special teams, you're doing some of the most dangerous work in football without any of the perks. You don't get 30 snaps a game to find your rhythm. You don't get a second chance to fix your mistake. You get one shot, one sprint, one block, one tackle, one chance to prove you're more than a placeholder. And if you fail, the whole team suffers. But the rewards? They're microscopic. You don't get praise in post-game pressers. You don't get replay highlights with glowing arrows pointing to your hustle. You don't get fans buying your jersey. You get told, nice job staying in your lane. And then you disappear back into the sea of helmets. Let's be real. Most special teams players are fighting for their careers on a weekly basis. You're usually the 47th man on a 53-man roster. One injury, one fumble, one blown assignment, and you're gone. The margin for error is razor thin, and the tape never lies. You're also not just playing against your opponent. You're competing against every undrafted rookie, every practice squad beast, every hybrid linebacker or wide receiver who might take your spot next week. And unlike starters, your identity isn't clear. Are you a receiver? A corner? A safety? A linebacker? No, you're just a special teams guy, which means coaches can use you however they want, but rarely invest in your growth. You get bounced around roles, coverage teams, kick returns, boom blocks, maybe even field goal units. You're the Swiss Army knife of a roster, but instead of feeling versatile, you just feel replaceable. And the crazy part? You're still expected to give 100% every single time. No rhythm, no glory, just grind. You don't get to settle in. You don't get to build chemistry with other starters. You don't even get consistent reps in practice. You just have to be ready to explode, to sprint, to hit, to survive. And when you're injured, no one says, man, he was so crucial to our scheme. They just bring in the next body and move on. You are both essential and expendable. That's the paradox of special teams. You matter until you don't. Section 2, the violence no one talks about. Let's get some things straight. Special teams isn't just the third phase of football. It's the most dangerous. This is where full-speed chaos lives. No warm-up, no build-up, just a whistle and a battlefield. You're running down field at max speed. So is the guy opposite you. You don't know where he's going. He doesn't care where you are. All that matters is impact, and not the kind that gets celebrated. The kind that breaks things. Bones, ribs, concussions. You want violence in football? Don't look at the quarterback. Don't look at the wide receivers. Look at the gunner sprinting toward a punt returner. Look at the wedge buster try to split two linemen. Look at the kicker getting blindsided on a broken return. These aren't plays. They're collisions. Unscripted, uncontrolled, unforgiving. And the worst part? You're often doing it for a handful of snaps per game. 5 plays, maybe 10, but those 5 snaps might shorten your career by 5 years. You train all week, lift, study, drill, and what do you get? 2 punt coverages, 3 kickoff returns, a high-speed car, crash every time. This isn't football in the traditional sense. This is impact warfare, and you're the bullet. Now imagine doing all that and still being invisible. You take the hits, you make the lanes, you blow up the wedge, and the camera never even catches your number. The analyst doesn't say your name. The crowd doesn't cheer. The fans watching at home don't even notice. But the pain? That's real. Your neck hurts Monday morning. Your shoulder's bruised. Your knees scream. And you've got no stat sheet to justify the damage. Not to the fans. Not to your contract. Not even to your legacy. You just hope the coach saw it on film. You just hope it was graded well. You just hope it was enough to keep you on the roster another week. That's the quiet desperation of special teams. You play the most violent part of the sport, and you have to smile through it like it's just part of the job. Because if you complain, you're soft. If you ask for fewer reps, you're not a team guy. If you get hurt, you're replaceable. No one's building a scheme around you. No one's designing a play to protect your body. You're the cannon fodder. You're the test dummy that keeps the machine moving. And still, you show up. Still, you sprint. Still, you collide. Because you love the game that even when it doesn't love you back. You accept that your body is currency. And every hit, another coin spent. But when the career ends and the checks stop coming, the pain doesn't stop. The hits you took chasing down returners on Sunday, they follow you for life. And that's why it really sucks to be a special teams player. You don't just sacrifice comfort. You sacrifice years of your future in a role most people forget even exists. Section 3, no position, no identity. In football, identity matters. You're either a quarterback, a receiver, a linebacker, a specialist at something, a master of your lane. But as a special teams player, you're caught in the middle. You're not a starter. You're not a sub-package player. You're not even truly part of a position group most of the time. You're a floater, a gap filler, a hybrid utility piece with no permanent home. Ask a cornerback what he does. I lock down receivers. Ask a defensive end. I rush the passer. Ask a special teams player. I do a little of everything. You line up wide on punt coverage. Next snap, you're in the middle of a wedge on kick return. Next play, you're chasing down a returner you practiced against 5 days ago. Your jersey says one thing, maybe WR, DB, LB, but that's not your job. You're not trusted on offense or defense. You're trusted on plays that barely exist in the minds of casual fans. And because of that, you never fully develop. You don't get reps to polish your skills. You don't get one-on-one coaching to refine your craft. You don't get meaningful snaps to prove you can actually play your position. You're stuck in a cycle of stay ready, stay fast, stay silent. You might have been a star in college, captain of your team, all conference, all American, but now you're just the guy who runs down kicks. And it messes with your head because every player wants to believe they're building something, climbing toward something, growing into the next level of their role. But you're sprinting in circles. Every game, every rep, every hit, and you never feel like you're moving forward. You watch your peers get called up to the starting defense. You see rookies get packages drawn up on offense. You stand in special teams meetings, nodding along, wondering if this is it for you. Is this my lane now? Am I just a career gunner? Is this where my story ends? And don't forget the risk. If you're not locked into a true position, you're expendable. One tweak to the roster, one player coming off injury, and you're the easiest to cut. Not because you're not good, but because you don't fit anywhere specific. You're the extra, the body, the roster chess piece. You can run, you can hit, you know the playbook, but you don't have a role. And that's brutal, because football is supposed to be about identity, knowing your strengths, owning your role, becoming a weapon in your own right. But as a special teams player, you're rarely treated like a weapon. You're the toolkit in the back of the shed, only brought out when needed, then put back and forgotten. And over time, that starts to chip away at your purpose. You wonder if the league ever really saw you, or if you were always just depth in disguise. Because no matter how many hits you deliver, no matter how many lanes you seal, no matter how many yards you sacrifice your body to save, you're still introduced as special teams, and not by name. Section 4, the emotional toll of being forgotten. There's a unique kind of loneliness in football, not when you're losing, not when you're benched, but when you're overlooked. That's the reality for most special teams players. You're doing everything right. You're giving everything you've got, but no one sees you. You walk into the facility early, leave late, lift with the team, watch the same film, bleed the same colors, but your name's never mentioned. Not by fans, not by broadcasters, sometimes not even by your own coaches. You can make a game-saving tackle on kickoff, and the highlight still cuts to the star QB high-fiving someone on the bench. You recover a fumble, and the announcer calls you some special teams guy. You do the dirty work, and the dirt stains never wash off. It starts to wear on you. You begin to question your worth. Am I really part of this team? Does any of this matter? Will I ever be more than a name on the inactive list? You carry that silence with you into the locker room, into your home, into your off season. And yet, you can't show it. Because if you speak up, you're not grateful. You're a problem. You're supposed to smile, clap for the stars, be the energy guy, bring the juice, set the tone, keep your head down, and earn your keep. You're not just overlooked. You're expected to be. And that disconnect creates real emotional damage. You're in a game that demands confidence, but constantly erodes yours. You're told you matter, but actions say you don't. You're reminded you're 1 to 53, but treated like number 52.5. And when the season ends, there's no film to send to other teams, no resume of highlights, just a few special teams reps and a lot of bruises. You sit by the phone during free agency, watch younger, flashier athletes get workouts, read articles that barely even list you as a departure. You were here, you mattered, and now you're gone. The NFL forgets fast, and special teams players, they're the easiest to erase. But here's what makes it even worse. You can't stop caring, even when you're invisible, even when you're forgotten, even when you're hurting. Because the moment you do stop caring, that's when you truly disappear. So you keep showing up, keep sprinting, keep hitting, keep hoping that someday someone will see the value in your grind. But until then, you carry the quiet heartbreak of being the glue that holds the game together while never being part of the picture. Section 5. the career that never becomes a legacy. Here's the hardest truth about being a special teams player. You might have a career, but you'll almost never have a legacy. You'll spend years in the league, sweating through training camps, grinding through cold Thursday practices, sprinting through live collisions every Sunday. But when it's over, there's no jersey retirement, no media tribute, no fans reminiscing about the time you sealed the edge on that crucial punt return. You just fade away because special teams work isn't built for memory. It's built for function. You're not there to be remembered. You're there to be reliable. And that's a brutal truth in a sport that glorifies stardom. When people talk about a team's core, they mention the quarterback, the star receiver, the shutdown corner. They never talk about the guy who ran 40 yards and made a one-on-one open field tackle to save a touchdown. But the film knows. And that's what most special teams players cling to. The hope that someone, some coach, some scout, some teammate saw the grind, the burst, the collision, the sacrifice, because the fans didn't, the broadcasters didn't, the world didn't. And when your career ends, what do you have to show for it? Not highlights, not headlines, just bruised ribs, worn out knees, and a few moments of glory that only you remember in full detail. And maybe a few coaches will call you tough, dependable, a real football guy, but that doesn't pay the bills, doesn't heal the injuries, doesn't build a future. Worse still, most special teams players are on short-term contracts, one-year deals, minimum pay, no security. You're constantly auditioning, constantly reproving your worth, constantly wondering if this next hit might be your last. You don't get time to build a name. You're fighting just to stay on the depth chart. And when a rookie gets drafted who runs a 4.3 and play gunner in college, you're suddenly expendable. Again, no matter how hard you've worked, no matter what you've sacrificed, no matter how many plays you made that no one saw, it's a treadmill that never slows down until you're thrown off. And when it does, there's no parade, no farewell tour, no thank you for your service from the fans, just silence and the cold realization that your body is broken from a role the world never celebrated. That's why it sucks to be a special teams player, because even when you give everything, there's a good chance football gives you nothing back. As we deeply discussed everything in all 5 sections, so now you know the forgotten warriors of football. Football is a game of heroes. Remember the quarterbacks who win Super Bowls, the receivers who make circus catches, the running backs who break records. But special teams players? They vanish. They live in the margins of the sport. The blurry faces sprinting downfield. The nameless bodies colliding at full speed. The ghosts of the gridiron. Essential, but invisible. And that invisibility? It hurts. Because these are not just athletes. They're warriors. They're grinders. They're men who love the game so deeply. They're willing to throw their bodies into chaos for just a chance to belong. Not for headlines. Not for fame. But because they still believe. They believe in football. In team. In earning it the hard way. And they do. Every week. Every snap. They show up uncelebrated and deliver the heart and soul of football in its rawest form. But no one claps. No one reposts their highlight. No one buys their jersey. And still they go. Because being a special teams player is not about ego. It's about sacrifice. The kind most people will never understand. You sacrifice your body. You sacrifice your spotlight. Sometimes you sacrifice your career, all for a role that lives in the background. But here's the truth. There is no championship without special teams. There are no comebacks, no hidden yardi, no momentum swings. The greatest teams know that. They know the value of the guy who races down the field, takes a hit, and makes a tackle that flips the game. They know what it means when a punt is downed at the 1-yard line, or a kick return gets housed because of one perfect block. But most fans, they'll never notice. So to every special teams player out there, this one's for you. For the shoulder bruises, for the torn cleats, for the unseen reps, for the quiet pain, for the love you've given a game that rarely loves you back. You're the edge of the blade, the unsung backbone, the reason the stars can shine. And while the world may forget you, football remembers. The tape doesn't lie. The game knows your name. And someday, when they talk about toughness, heart, and grit, they'll be talking about you, even if they never say it out loud.